How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Real Talk number 17. Today, I'd like to talk to you about why crowdfunding is so important. Today, I'm going to focus on indie comics and indie novels specifically, but really in general, a lot of these sentiments spread out, into all the other different types of products and endeavors that are on crowdfunding sites. So, why is it important? Well, it's important not just for creators like myself, but also for readers. Now, for me personally, if it weren't for crowdfunding, right now I wouldn't be in a situation to be able to create a full comic issue based off of my Vigilantes Creed storyline. So, of course, it's very important to me. I love my characters, I love my story, and even though I've been fortunate enough to get them in prose format out in front of folks, I really, really love to be able to get it out in front of folks in a visual format, so comics. And because of the success of my first campaign and the backer support, I'm able to do that. Now, if crowdfunding didn't exist, well, then I would have had to have just created a website and, paid all the money, of course, for that as well. But, there's, it's really hard to get folks to buy things outside of Amazon, just in general, right? Especially with the added cost of shipping. But what's unique about crowdfunding is that traditional backers, it goes beyond just purchasing an item or supporting an item, right? To get that tangible item in their hand. There's just this really supportive nature and just kind of team effort aspect to it, where backers, including myself, just love knowing that the money that you're putting towards that campaign is actually bringing that creator's story and dream to life. Where when you purchase something on Amazon or on other websites, typically those creations already exist, and in many cases it's larger corporations that are making money off of those products. But when it comes to crowdfunding, your support goes directly into the making of something unique, something that has passion tied to it. And so it goes beyond, again, just buying an item and selling an item. It's actually being a part of lifting it up and making it real. And so that for backers and for readers, that brings them a good feeling. I know it brings a good feeling to myself when I support a campaign because I know how much it means to them and how much they care about their project. Because when you read the info in their campaign, when you watch their trailer, when you watch them on a stream, you get a sense of how important it is to them. And so it's really great when you receive that book in the mail and you're like, man, I helped them do this, and you just know that they appreciate that. You don't always get that sense when you just buy something off Amazon. And what's cool about it too is you get a connection with your backer. They get on your sign up list, or you have ways to actually get feedback from them, where on Amazon you have no idea who's bought your book. It just everything feels very random. And what's great about it too, from a creator perspective, is being able to handle every aspect of the project, being able to deal with the printer, receiving the book, caring for the book, pick packing and shipping it, and making sure that it gets to the backer in the best condition possible, and adding cool freebies like prints and trading cards, things that you wouldn't be able to do on a website like Amazon. So the quality control is there, and it feels more personal being able to prepare everything not only from a story perspective or art perspective, but the actual physical books, being able to ship them directly to your backer or your customer. It's just really, really cool. And I really enjoy that personally. And for the readers too, it gives them an alternative to the mainstream. I know a lot of folks are soured or disappointed with the content that the mainstream is putting out, whether that's comics, novels, films, etc. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still good content there, but it's not as frequent as it used to be. And so now folks have this avenue with crowdfunding websites to find comics that are not restricted by sensitivity readers, by editors that are going to chop and screw your comic, your characters, your ideas, and try to change them. You are getting untethered creativity when it comes to truly independent comics. And so you're getting unique characters and unique storylines that, in a decent amount of cases, are going against generacy. And so that's really exciting for backers. And just, from my interaction, in CG specifically, and even beyond that, but you just see how much these backers appreciate the creators and how passionate they are for their books and being a part of bringing them to life. And it's just, I don't know, it's such a cool dynamic, versus just if you were to be published, you would have no idea who most of your backers were. You wouldn't be, streaming with and creating with all these different independent creators, like we get to do. I mean, you would just get a royalty check and keep writing. But this just has that unique dynamic, where it feels more personal, and it just also feels more like a team effort, which I enjoy. Getting to hang out with all these different creators, and so yeah, it's really important for readers, especially established backers. And I think the more folks get exposed to crowdfunding, the more we're going to have folks just love the type of projects that are on there, and they'll just start kind of focusing on supporting projects on there, versus, the mainstream possibly. Now, for creators, I mean, I think it's quite obvious for anyone that's backed the campaign that crowdfunding gives creators an avenue to bring their projects to life and to be able to afford to do so. Now, there are some folks that are fortunate enough to have enough money to where, hey, they can just create everything in advance, create a website, and they have the reach or pre-existing kind of customer base that they can just sell. That's great, but let's be honest, most independent creators do not have that. They do not have a reach. They do not have much of a following. And so they have to rely on being able to raise funds just to be able to afford to pay their artist and then to also print the book. And so if it weren't for crowdfunding, there'd be a lot of projects out there that would have never have came to life. And there would have been a lot of creators that were also too afraid to take that financial risk, or put their families finances at risk in order to create their project. So it's extremely important to indies like myself. Now, I was, I guess, fortunate enough to be able to pay for everything up front for my novels and my mini comic, but it was a financial risk. And if it wouldn't have funded, I mean, everyone still would have gotten their books, but I would have been in a position to where I was like, hey, I just can't take the risk financially, and put my family's financial security at risk to create the first comic issue, which I'm working on right now. And that would be a shame not only for myself but for my readers. But thanks to crowdfunding, with my first campaign, I was able to almost triple my goal, at this point, to where I've recovered all of my costs. I've made profit to where I can take everything that I've received from this campaign and put it directly into the first comic issue. So I'm already started on it. And if I continue to raise money, I'll be able to potentially produce most, if not all, of the book before the end of the 60-day campaign, which would be fantastic. But again, it's because of crowdfunding and because of the backers that I'm in this position to be able to continue to create. And I know for a lot of indie novelists, and I'm sure it would be the same if, Amazon, for example, was printing comics. They put a lot of money into the cover art. They put money into an editor. All of this, but because of how little of the sales price that they keep, a lot of times they don't make their money back, or it takes years, and so they either, out of fear, stop creating, or they have to sacrifice the quality of future cover art, editing, and things just to be able to keep putting their stories out there. And that's a shame. So you see a lot of people kind of just fall out of creating. And, with crowdfunding, of course, crowdfunding sites, they're not going to market for you. They're just giving you a platform, they're doing the payment processing, all of that, which is crucial. So you still got to grind, of course, to market, to connect with folks, to network. But again, it provides that platform and that opportunity to not only bring your initial project to life, but to be able to continue to create, which is extremely important. And if it didn't exist, all of those thousands and thousands of backers and readers wouldn't have entertainment. They wouldn't have gotten connected with, some of their favorite creators. It'd just be a shame all around. And that's why, to me, it's extremely important to support the idea of crowdfunding and to back campaigns that interest you and creators that interest you and that, you can, connect with on some level. So for me, again, crowdfunding has been, a blessing, and I'm extremely thankful for it. And I'm just loving creating my first comic issue, and I hope that that momentum continues to where I can just continue to create comic after comic, book after book, so that folks have great entertainment. But there are thousands of creators like myself, again, that because of crowdfunding, their book is out there. And even some of them have been picked up by publishers. They have entered the mainstream, or they've been picked up by movies. That is a small possibility, of course, but it does, again, because it provides that avenue to fund your book, to create it, there's a chance that it could get picked up for something bigger, or it could bleed into the mainstream and maybe over time change the mainstream a little bit. But the most important thing is that these projects are coming to life. And I really appreciate the fact that, some of the big indie creators continue to use crowdfunding platforms. Because again, it creates a sentiment that it's important in this kind of team aspect of like, hey, we're all in this together to an extent, right? Where the more eyes that get put on crowdfunding campaigns, the more traffic that goes to these websites, the more everybody wins, the higher chance that these projects come to life. So I do really appreciate that. Um, the other thing too is for specifically for folks that were in the mainstream and either got pushed out, right, because of political reasons or cancellations, or the fact that they just weren't able to make as much money as they could in the past because maybe these publishers are not paying as much as they used to in the past, or they're outsourcing some of the work to lower cost countries, etc. Crowdfunding allows them to raise enough money to provide for their family because they're not getting a salary anymore, right? They're not getting benefits, so they got to pay for health insurance, things of that nature. And if their whole life is being an artist, they have to continue to create. And of course, they want to do that for a living. And so, because of crowdfunding, they can raise enough money not only to create these awesome books so that readers can have enjoyment and entertainment, but it allows them to support their family off of their craft, which is creating comics or creating novels. And a lot of people, when they see, if they don't understand crowdfunding and kind of the finances behind it, but they might say, "Oh, this person's raised $300,000. They have so much money. Why would they need crowdfunding again?" Well, it's not that simple. Possibly a third of if not more, of that money is the shipping costs, which most people are not making any money off the shipping. It's usually about a one for one. So you take that out of that 300,000, and then you have to also take out the cost to actually print the book, to print the all the extras, right? The prints, the trading cards, to produce everything. So again, that might go from 300,000 to 200,000 down to, 150 or 100 or even less. It depends on the campaign and the lengths of the books and the margins for folks, but it's not always going to leave basically a living wage for folks, which is why they got to try to do more than one campaign in a year in many cases. But again, because they have this platform to raise the money for their projects, they can support their family by continuing to do their craft, which is awesome, and really important. We don't want artists, whether it's comic book artists or whatnot, painters, to not be able to make a living, because the less beautiful art and products that there are in the world, the worse the world's going to seem. So, it's providing an avenue for folks to continue to make a living, and for folks that may be new, that can raise a lot of money. It gives them an opportunity to leave their desk job, right, and dedicate their life to their stories and their creations, which is awesome. So there's just so many positives to crowdfunding. So, and you do get some folks from time to time these days that are trying to scare folks away from crowdfunding, pushing, more pre-orders and, things of that nature. But I think if folks were to truly understand crowdfunding, to talk to some of the creators and, just to understand the impact that it has on independent comics, they would realize, like, hey, it's important that these sites exist and that these projects get supported. So, I think, again, for me, it's obvious why crowdfunding is important. I wouldn't be able to continue to create, as I mentioned, and, hundreds of readers wouldn't have my book. A lot of folks would have missed out on entertainment and, potentially, um, maybe inspiration, or just feeling something, when it comes to my story. And then you compound that with, again, all these other creators and their creations, and yeah, just obviously be a shame, if these sites didn't exist, and if we didn't have all these awesome people out there that are willing to put some money, in folks' hands to bring their projects to life. So, I'm very, very thankful for my backers, of course, and just for people in general that will support crowdfunding. So yeah, speaking of my project, folks would please hit the link in the description and check out Vigilantes Creed. I have two novels and a mini comic about a gargoyle and a team of vigilantes fighting terror in Detroit. This is a bit of a unique campaign, again, combining prose and art, but that's what's awesome about crowdfunding, right? It's about creations, not any specific type, and allows folks to come up with different blends and different ideas. And so, I'm able to provide you a unique and immersive storyline with art to match. And I'd love to hear folks' feedback. And there's just so many great campaigns out there. Right now you have Immortal Rising, which is a great campaign that's also on Indiegogo. You have Rainbow the Brute, you have Cyberfrog, you have Inglorious Rex 3, you have the second Godlight coming up. There's just so many fantastic campaigns with unique art, unique storylines that, quite frankly, might not exist if crowdfunding didn't. So, just more the reason to support crowdfunding. So please go check out my campaign. Again, every single dollar that I raise is going directly into the first comic issue, And the more I raise, the quicker that will come to fruition and the more of it that can be completed before the end of the 60-day campaign. So again, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for supporting crowdfunding, and please try to spread the word. And a lot of folks out there don't know what crowdfunding is, or they kind of have heard about it, but they've never actually supported a crowdfunder. So it's also about bringing awareness. So, try to, share campaigns with folks, tell people about it, tell them how important it is. And yeah, let's help more and more creators bring their projects to life. Thank you, everybody. God bless.